Hi drummers, hope you're well. Right, just a quick one for you today, how to fix a broken hi-hat. I get asked this all the time by the guys who come in for the sessions and also from online as well. Like people asking me, my hi-hat's broken, I'm lifting up and closing the pedal like I did before, but the hi-hat's not moving. Why is it broken? Well, I can't say exactly about your hi-hat, of course, but I would say 90% of the time or more, it's one of two things. Now the first thing it is, and the most common thing, is that the hi-hat clutch, this bit here, this assembly here, has simply come undone, worked its way loose, right? So what I normally do is, when I have a look at someone's hi-hat, when they say it's broken, I lift the top cymbal up with the clutch, and what I see underneath is exactly this, right? Can you see it's all come apart, basically? Look at that, you see that? So the whole assembly has just worked its way undone. Now the basic idea with a hi-hat clutch, this is a pretty typical example, is you've got the top bit here with this little turner here, which attaches to the hi-hat rod, this bit here, right? That grips on the top. There'll be either a bit of felt, or in this case, a bit of rubber there. The hi-hat cymbal, the top cymbal, will then be sandwiched between that bit of rubber or felt and the other bit of rubber or felt. So imagine your hi-hat's in that gap there, right? The top cymbal, the bottom cymbal just stays where it is. And then there's usually some kind of thing that screws on the bottom. Here it's a little plastic thing, often it's metal actually. But some little thing that screws on the bottom like that. Almost always with time, what's happened is the bottom assembly here has just worked its way loose off the thread here, off the screw thread that's on there. And so what you've got is the whole thing just sitting on your hi-hat stand like that, kind of undone, right? All you need to do then is get your hi-hat clutch, get the top cymbal, pass it through, then put the bit of felt, as I say, or rubber in this case. So again, there's two bits of rubber or felt sandwiching the top hi-hat, and then you screw it up, screw it in, so, and hopefully we can find this. And then what you do is you tighten it all the way up. So some drummers go super tight with this. I like to give a little bit of give still on it. So there's still a little bit of like play in the cymbal. The cymbal can sort of breathe a little bit and still resonate nicely. That's kind of personal preference. Obviously the looser you do it up, the more quickly it'll work its way undone again. So there you are. You've now got the clutch assembly gripping the top cymbal. And then when you put it back on the rod, all you do, the best way to do this I always think is put it down like this. So it's completely loose. Make sure this little wing nut here is in the undone position so the hi-hat can move freely. You then, and this is where a lot of, especially beginner drummers, do this wrong, you don't have to sort of lift up the cymbal or anything like that. Just put your foot down on the pedal. If you think about it, the amount that you would want to put it down to close the hi-hat, right? So if you put it down just a little bit of the way, and this is always less than you would first think, put it down just a little bit of the way, and with your foot held in that position on the pedal, tighten it up, and there you got it. Open, close. I would say more than half the time, that's the thing. It's that the hi-hat clutch, this thing on the top, has just worked its way loose. The second thing, which does happen as well, is that the rod here can actually unscrew. So often what's happened, some of the time what's happened is, you see I'm unscrewing this, the rod, the hi-hat rod that the pedal actually operates, the reason the top cymbal moves is because it's gripping that rod, actually unscrews. I'm not going to unscrew this one all the way, but actually if you press your pedal down, you should see, depending on the make of your hi-hat stand, at the top of the pedal, a little bit of a chain or potentially a bit of strap of leather or something like that attached to the rod. You can see how the rod attaches. It usually just simply screws in, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey and all that. You screw it in, and often that works its way loose as well. Obviously, if you got to the point where it's worked its way completely loose and it's detached, the rod is detached from the pedal, well, obviously the pressing the pedal is not going to have any effect. So you just need to get the rod, if it's worked its way totally loose, you need to make sure it's in the little thread on the pedal, and then righty-tighty, do it up. What I would normally do is, not to the point of risking breaking it, but more than I could do with my hand, I'd get a pair of pliers or similar, especially one with a good grip on, and I'd turn the hi-hat rod like that, a little bit more than I could do with my hand, to make sure it's super tight. And then as well as that, once I've set the clutch up so the hi-hat, I then actually do it a little bit more, like with the clutch, pretty firmly tight. Just make sure it's super tight, because there's nothing worse than playing a hi-hat when it's coming undone. So let's recap real quick. If your hi-hat's not working like you expect, if it's not opening and closing, it's probably one of these two things. It's either the hi-hat clutch has worked its way loose. Remember the fix for that, you need to just make sure the full assembly is on the bottom here. There'll be the hi-hat clutch itself, or the top part of it, then the bit of rubber or felt, there'll be another bit of rubber or felt underneath, and then some kind of thing which screws on to hold it in place. Just make sure that's done up, and then you put it back on and you're in business. or the rod, this bit here, can work its way loose. Check those two things. If it isn't that and you're still stuck, just drop me a line, let me know, show me a picture of it, send me a video, I'll show you what it is. But in my experience, as I say, more than 90% of the time, it's one of those two things. Thanks so much for watching as always, and see you soon.